life comes from the word perpetuate, which means for something to continue. Thus, perpetuation of life means to continue life. Perpetuation of life includes reproduction, which means the action or process of making a copy of something, and the production of offspring by a sexual or asexual process. How do plants reproduce? Plants can reproduce in two very different ways. First is sexual reproduction. Involves the production of seeds and fruits from specialized cells of two plants. The other one is asexual or vegetative reproduction. Occurs when a parent plant grows new plants from its roots, stem, and leaves. There are traditional types of vegetative reproduction. First is cuttings, layering, grafting, budding, and tissue cultures. Sexual reproduction in plants. Sexual reproduction is the formation of offspring by the fusion of gametes. The parts of the flower. First is the petal. Brightly colored parts of the flower to attract insects and birds. The next one is the sepal. Green, protect the flower before it opens or underneath after it opens. Next is stamen or the male reproductive organ. Anther, where pollen is produced and stored. Next is pollen grains, cases containing male reproductive cells. Next is filament, stalk that supports the anther. Next is pistil, or the female reproductive organ. Stigma, sticky lip of the pistil that captures pollen grains. Next is style, stalk that supports the stigma. Next is the ovary, swollen base of the pistil containing ovules. The last one is the ovules, sacs containing female reproductive cells. Sexual reproduction of plants mainly happen in angiosperms, or also known as the flowering plants. Important parts. Stamen entail the male structure, a semi-rigid filament with a sac called the anther dangling from the tip. Pollen grains develop in the anthers. Most anthers have slits or the pores on the side to accommodate pollen release. The female organs are collectively referred to as the pistil and include the landing pad at the top called the stigma, a slender stalk-like style that leads down to the swollen base called the ovary. The ovary is what will develop or ripen into a fruit. Inside the ovary is an egg-shaped ovule, which is held in place within the ovary by means of a short stalk. The ovule is what develops into a seed. Fruits have seeds. Flowering plant reproduction. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants happens in two processes: pollination and germination. Pollination can occur by self-pollination or cross-pollination. Pollination is the movement of pollen from the stamens to the stigma. Germination, when the seed is able to come in contact and get covered by the soil. It remains inactive until the right conditions are present for it to germinate. Germination is the development of a seed into a new plant. Most flowering plants, or angiosperms, are hermaphrodite, meaning it has both male and female organs. Pollination and germination have many agents. Example, wind, animals, and water. That's why one species of plant are in one place and to the other. In other plants, such as the fruit-producing plants, they produce edible fruits. A fruit is a mature or ripened ovary that usually contains seeds. How do animals reproduce? There are two types of reproduction. First is the sexual reproduction and the asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction occurs when female reproductive cells are merged with male reproductive cells to form a new animal that is a genetic combination of the parent animals. Next is asexual reproduction produces an identical genetic copy of the parent animal instead of merging the genes of two parents. Asexual reproduction includes budding is when a bud grows inside or outside of a mature animal. It is common in some kinds of coral and sponges. Next is fragmentation. Is found in some flatworms called planarians. It occurs when a part breaks off or fragments and then grows into another animal. Last is regeneration. Occurs when part of an animal breaks off and the animal grows it back. Sometimes, if the part that is broken off is large enough, it may also grow into another animal. Courtship rituals. In addition to the actual methods of reproduction, many animals have elaborated courtship rituals. A courtship ritual is a way of attracting a mate. How do genes work? A gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. A gene is composed of DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid hereditary material. It's packed into something we call chromosomes. Every organism consists of cells. All multicellular organisms have a cell and a cell nucleus. This nucleus contains the DNA, the hereditary material. But this DNA does not float around randomly through the nucleus. It is neatly packed into something we call chromosomes. In the nucleus of each cell, the DNA molecule is packaged into thread-like structures called chromosomes. Each chromosome has a constriction point called the centromere, which divides the chromosome into two sections or arms. Each cell normally contains 23 pairs of chromosomes for a total of 46. 22 of these pairs, called autosomes, look the same in before males and females. The 23rd pair, the sex chromosomes, differ between males and females. Females have two copies of X chromosome, while males have one X and one Y. How DNA transfers its information. DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, is the hereditary material in humans and almost all other organisms. Nearly every cell in a person's body has the same DNA. Most DNA is located in the cell nucleus, or where it is called nuclear DNA. But a small amount of DNA can also be found in the mitochondria, or where it is called mitochondrial DNA or mtDNA. The information in DNA is stored as a code made up of four chemical bases. First is the adenine. Second, guanine. Third, cytosine plus the thymine. Human DNA consists of about 3 billion bases, and more than 99% of those bases are the same in all people. The order or sequence of these bases determines the information available for building and maintaining an organism, similar to the way in which letters of the alphabet appear in a certain order to form words and sentences. DNA bases pair up with each other, A with T and C with G, to form units called base pairs. Each base is also attached to a sugar molecule and a phosphate molecule. Together, a base, sugar, and phosphate are called nucleotide. Nucleotides are arranged in two long strands that form a spiral called a double helix. The structure of the double helix is somewhat like a ladder, with the base pairs forming the ladders, rungs, and the sugar and phosphate molecules, forming the vertical side pieces of the ladder. An important property of DNA is that it can replicate or make copies of itself. Each strand of DNA in the double helix can serve as a pattern for the duplicating the sequence of bases. This is critical when cells divide because each new cell needs to have an exact copy of the DNA present in the old cell. DNA to protein. DNA and RNA are long linear polymers called nucleic acids that carry information in a form that can be passed from one generation to the next. Genes specify the kinds of proteins that are made by cells, but DNA is not the direct template for protein synthesis. Templates for protein synthesis are RNA, or ribonucleic acid molecules. Class of RNA molecules called messenger RNA or mRNA are the information carrying intermediates in protein synthesis. Other RNA molecules such as transfer RNA or tRNA and ribosomal RNA or rRNA are part of the protein synthesizing machinery. All forms of cellular RNA are synthesized by RNA polymerases that take instructions from DNA templates. This process of transcription is followed by translation, the synthesis of proteins according to instruction given by the mRNA. Mutation. A gene mutation is a permanent alteration in the DNA sequence that makes up a gene, such that the sequence differs from what is found in most people. Mutations range in size. They can affect anywhere from a single DNA building block or base pair to a large segment of a chromosome that includes multiple genes. Gene mutations can be classified in two major ways. First, hereditary mutations are inherited from a parent and are present throughout a person's life in virtually every cell in the body. Second is acquired mutations occur at some time during a person's life and are present only in certain cells, not in every cell in the body. Human genes have been added to bacteria to produce human proteins such as insulin, human growth hormone, and clothing material. The advantages are resistance to pests, resistance to diseases, productive livestock, and miracle drugs, while the disadvantages, environmental hazards, health risk, and economy.